There was always oh, that girl is a dyke, or the whispering and the, she doesn't like men, she's a man-hater. I grew up in a very, very religious family. I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, so there was lots of knocking on people's doors, and the big emphasis in my early life was living the morally upright life. Undeniably, I knew I was gay when I was 14 years old. I never wanted to kiss boys, I always wanted to kiss girls, in particular this girl. And then when I got to be 14 years old, I realized that people could hate me for doing this. I went to a college prep high school. It's Staten Island. There was like one gay kid every year, and it was usually a guy. Members of the student body would tease me or would say things about me. There was always oh, that girl is a dyke, or the whispering and the, she doesn't like men, she's a man-hater. I came out to my parents when I was 16 years old. My mother, when I told her that I was gay, refused to believe it. Refused. They kept telling me, you know, this is not who you are, you're not allowed to be this way, you know this is wrong. And you know, my mother was sitting me down and forcing me to study the example of Jesus to understand the role of men in our lives. And at the same time, they weren't letting me like hug or kiss my brothers and sisters. The longest I ran away was for a whole week. And I just called my mother and she said, where do you want your stuff? Because you're not allowed to come back. I got kicked out of the church. When you get kicked out of them, none of them are allowed to speak to you. So getting kicked out of the church was being like cut off from my whole entire world. I found the Hetrick-Martin Institute, and there were people like me. You know, there were people who were in the same situation, you know, and it felt nice to not be alone in the situation, you know, because at the time, you know, from where I grew up, where I came from, I felt like I was going through this whole situation by myself. Like no one could possibly understand what I was going through, and other people did. Being disowned by your family, I mean, it feels like cutting a lifeline. You feel like you're floating out there by yourself. You think about the fact that you've paid a price to be who you are. You feel like you've had to literally start over, you know, and put your life together, you know, increment by increment. School, housing, family, friends, all new things. HMI gave me a lot. I did the last semester of senior year at the Harvey Milk School. The Harvey Milk School was so instrumental to keeping me together. And with the help of these other wonderful people who I love very much and who are part of my family, you know, have gotten me to a place where I can function. So since you know, in the aftermath of, you know, me being kicked out of my parents' house and like finding Hetrick-Martin and getting into an independent living program, and I decided that I wanted to be a social worker. I'd like to do work with children and families. I don't want the reason that they can't go home to be because they're LGBTQ. Things did not move more with my family. My mom and dad still cling to their religion. You know, it's their way of life. I think the biggest strength is to be able to say, you know, despite what you've done, I still am who I am. I'm going to be myself, and I'm going to take whatever comes with that.